It's offside with Hawes and Maguire.
All right, it's offside with Hawes and Maguire. I'm Hawes.
I'm Maguire.
All right. So, hey, big day today. Trade deadline.
Yeah,
Now, by the time this airs,
got it on here in the
it'll be
background.
over. You have it on the background?
Yep.
So we got to get into a whole bunch of things. But let's start by talking about possible trades. But we can't talk about all of them. So let's talk about what you think is going to be the biggest and most and has been the biggest most impactful moves.
Well, as we tape this, Chris, I would say right now Tampa, bringing back Gourde and Bjorkstand. Although you can make a case for Colorado just this morning, I guess, grabbing Brock Nelson. Well, it was either late last night
It was last night because I was up in
last night. Yeah, I was out last night. I'm not quite sure what happened, but the last thing I remember was drinking with the header at the mill. But
You know, a lot of stories start like that.
yes, yes, and they finished the same way. What the hell happened? Yeah, I'd say right now those two are in the front runner. I believe Elliot Friedman tweeted a while back that the Rantanen to Dallas, is that confirmed? Have you heard that?
That's the one that's in play, but
Yeah.
that has not been confirmed. Like not on this. It's not confirmed yet.
Okay. Well, I'm following the same thing on my phone, and I've got I've got the TSN up here in the background. So that would be obviously huge if he was to move again. But it also begs some question, like what the hell is going on with him? But
Well, I feel the same way about Cody Ceci, to be honest with you. You know,
yeah.
no,
Question that's been asked since he turned pro, but he still is serviceable at times. There's no doubt about it. He certainly was an awesome Ottawa 67, but I know you're being somewhat facetious, I'm sure.
yeah, no, yeah. So listen, what's the scuttlebutt? I like the word, by the way, scuttlebutt.
Yeah.
It's got scuttle in it and butt, and you put them together. It's a fucking amazing word. Okay,
Yeah.
so the Brad Marchand stuff, like I don't.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So tell me what your thoughts are related to that. You know, I don't know. I don't know. I can't see him in anything other than a Bruins jersey. But
Yeah. Well, did you ever think Ray Bork would move? You
well, you
know?
know what? Yes, I did, and only because there was no way he was getting a cup in Boston, and
Yeah.
they did the noble thing sending him there. That was a gift to Ray Bork, and I you know what? I loved that.
Yeah, fair enough. That's very true. He had played his whole career at that point, a long time, and actually didn't win that first year in Colorado, won the next, got the cup, retired, brought it back to Boston, which was so cool. Marchand, he's got the cup, right? He was with the Bruins in 2011, and it's the same thing though. I mean, the only chatter about him going is because obviously he's conceded to say, yeah, if you can get a deal. And I don't know any, if he's presented teams or what's happened, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And the Bruins are heading south. There's no question about that. They're going to be in very, very tough to make the playoffs this year. And it probably, barring a not a real miracle, because they still have a nucleus there of pretty solid players, but
Yeah.
they haven't, Swayman hasn't been able to pick up where he left off, and they don't have the duo anymore with Allmark and Ottawa. It's not the same, and Corpusalo is what he is, and so they don't have the same goaltending. They don't have the same roster. They're heading south. They're not going to make the playoffs, and they want to give Brad another kick at the can. He's been an admirable soldier for them. It is a little unusual because he's wearing the C, but listen, after everything we've been through in our lives, watching hockey with Gretzky traded, with Bobby Orr in a different jersey, Guy Lafleur, Gordie Howe, take your pick, go all the way back to Howie Morenz. We weren't around, but believe me, when he left Montreal, it shook up the hockey world. So, it's gone on for decades, and this is just a continuation of it if Brad, in fact, is dealt today.
Right. Yeah. Where do you think where like if you were a team that was looking to build and add stuff, what team who would you like if what team do
Yeah.
you think he would go to best suited to it?
I mean, I don't think either of the Florida teams at this point now would have him on the radar. So
Mhm.
if in fact Rantanen, I think maybe it's one of two ways. Rantanen or Marchand, possibly to Dallas, maybe would be Dallas have been knocking on the door here.
Yeah,
Notwithstanding the trip to the final in 2020, they've been right there. They were
yeah,
my pick to win last year. Florida got it done. Dallas went out in a tough semi to Edmonton. Give Edmonton all the credit in the world in that series for winning it.
yeah.
But I think Marchand. I mean, look, he's not going to agree to any deal. He's not going to. Like I don't see him going to say somebody who's up and coming who looks like they are ready to bust through the door from the lower end, like
No, no,
maybe a
no. Yeah.
or a Detroit. I don't see that. So I think you're looking at a Vegas or a Dallas or I don't know who else.
You think it's the West?
I do think it's the West. I do think it's the West because I think part of it is as much as the entire Bruin management company probably aren't happy they're in this position. Let's take the word
Yeah,
probably of that, but the reality is they are.
yeah.
And I think that they know Brad's got a little bit of gas left in the tank. I don't think they want to play him 4 or 5 times a season,
Right,
whoever it goes to as well.
right.
They're willing to maybe give him a shot here at a cup, but I don't think. And who is it really in the East? I mean, you've got the Florida teams, you've got Washington, and I don't see him
No, he's
being.
not a. You know what? I can't see him going to Washington. You
Yeah,
know, and
there's your
you're right.
favorites.
I think it's the
East.
West. You know, it really depends on what Boston is willing to take for him, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw a comment today, which Chris Pronger said, like, what teams are wanting for their guys for their rentals, right?
yeah.
Ridiculous,
It always is in the morning,
you know.
but once you get after noon, and I know we're not far from there, but usually it's those last few hours. Some of the offers,
Yeah,
some of the tolerance level will come down,
yeah.
and some deals will get done. But
Well,
you can't prostitute yourself and give these guys away at the end of the day. Because the other thing is, you've even though you've had a run here of Florida teams making the finals and winning cups, you've got a lot of parity. You
yeah,
got a lot of teams that are in that cycle, like a Dallas, like an Edmonton, who are, picked up Trent Frederick. He's hurt right now. Speaking of
yeah,
Bruins selling off assets, I
right.
mean, Frederick is built for the playoffs. Absolutely
Well,
built for the.
he's a great hockey player. Love him. And
Well, yeah, he's not a 30 goal scorer or anything, but the guy can't score a bit, but it's his
well,
pugnacious
he was what is
and
he? What is
tenacity.
he? 22 years old?
I don't know his age. I think
Yeah,
he's around that. He's a young
yeah.
man. I don't think he's ever going to
I
score
think
here 30.
he'll be a 30 goal scorer. I really do.
Not a hope in hell.
With-
Not a hope in hell. What are you smoking down there?
Well, actually, they're gummies. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do. I think he's got.
He
I
won't
think he's
score
got.
30 to save his life. He doesn't need to. They didn't pick him up to score 30. Look, if he scores at all, it's a bonus. They're going to throw him on that third line more than likely. And he's going to go out there and just run around like a totally Tasmanian devil, which is where he's effective, which is the type of guy that you need in the playoffs still to have
True,
validity to win. You
true, but
still
he's
need
playing. But
like
you got. I think he's playing the role. I think he's a far better hockey player than the roles that he has been given at this point, and he'll
we'll see.
mature into it. We'll see down the line. We'll see if he gets 30 goals.
Yeah.
I think he will. I think, but you know what? It just depends on how teams use him. I know. I do want to say this as a moniker.
Hey, look, they play him with McDavid and he's on the number one power play unit. He may have 30 off his shins.
Well, listen,
But
there was
short of that, he ain't scoring 30.
okay. All right. Well, we'll agree to agree that I'm right, and we'll move on. And so I just want to close on the fact that should Marchand go, and if anybody's looking at Marchand, I said I got a great slogan. He gives a licking and keeps on ticking.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so
There you go.
he's still in that.
Yeah.
Okay, so other things. Let's get into do the Ottawa Senators make any moves at all?
I'm sure they're trying like hell. I mean, they absolutely, I believe, are going to make the playoffs this year. I really believe it. They're in a spot as we tape this right now from their win against Chicago the other night. It's going to be a leapfrog battle here, but now Columbus has lost a couple in a row, and Detroit and Ottawa's playing all these guys.
Yeah.
They've got 11 games left against these teams that they're in the battle with.
Yeah.
So, of the remaining 19 or 20 that they have, or 21. So they're going to control their own destiny here by how they do in those games. It's a couple against Montreal, Detroit, 3, I think, against Columbus. They should try and make a deal. I mean, they're doing all this with nothing from Batherson. They've had a lineup that's been injuries have been scattered through it. If they could get some help, some scoring help, I know that they're going to.
So what's the issue? What's the Brady Tkachuk situation right now?
Brady's solid all day. He's not going anywhere.
No. Yeah. I mean, as far as he was injured for a little bit there. And,
yeah. No, he's back. He's back. He's hitting. He's fighting. He's scoring.
Yeah. So he's not sort of tepid, right? He's 100%.
No, if you saw the game against Washington, he certainly is not tepid.
No, I didn't see it. I'm sorry. I refuse to watch Alexander Ovechkin break Gretzky's record. I'll watch the highlights, but I don't want to see it. You know what? I'll tell you, he's the luckiest fucking son of a bitch I've ever seen with the puck. It's unbelievable the luck he has.
You know what? You got to be lucky to be good and good to be lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? And he's using performance enhancing drugs, and he belongs to that cult. And I'm just spreading all the rumors I possibly can.
Yeah. He's the greatest goal scorer in NHL history. We've never seen anybody like this guy score at his level of consistency over this length of time. No one's ever done it, and he deserves all the accolades. And frankly, at this point, he deserves the record, and he's going to get it. I did not think he would. I really did not. If you had asked me, I was asked 2 years ago, and I said, no way. He's going to hit a wall here, and then. You look at last season and how terrible he started. Like, he had 7 goals by Christmas. He was heading for a 16-goal season. Still ended up scoring over 30. He's going to score over 30 this year, and he's 9 from tying as we tape this, 10 from breaking it. It's just remarkable. And, the Caps are...
So do you think when he does break the record, okay, finally he's done it, he can move on, he can retire and go to his new castle in Ukraine and relax, put his feet up, maybe, Well,
we'll see. I mean, I know, Putin's got a chalet waiting for him somewhere.
Yeah.
But there's lots of speculation on that because he is playing so well, and the team is playing so well, which is another thing I did like Poitras and McMichael. As some of these guys that are having the seasons that they are not seasons I certainly projected, and Thompson in net has been phenomenal. And he wasn't even picked for Team Canada. That they had the team. He was just, you and I discussed this last show. He was just starting to shoot like a bullet as they had to make their selections for the 3 guys. And so he would have been, had there been a 4th, it would have been him. He obviously should have been there. But then how do you say anything against Binnington anyway? Because
this is the thing, which leads me to one other comment. Because it's been a volatile, and I know you hate when I go geopolitical, but it's been a volatile week in Canada and the United States, okay, with tariffs and retaliation and stuff like that, and and there's a lot of passion behind it, and I would say I've had many conversations with other Canadians who think it's probably. One of the best things that's ever happened to Canada is Donald Trump, because he's made us forget all of our other petty shit and galvanize in our as a country and be proud, because we don't do a lot of flag waving. We're not flag wavers. We're down here. I'm down here, and I walk outside here and I'll look and I'll see a dozen American flags flying on houses every day.
Yeah,
we don't see that in Canada almost ever. Maybe Canada Day, and then we take it down and politely take it down, and we store our fascism in our closet or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Our nationalism, anyway. But it's very different down here, and it's something that I'm kind of proud of that we're standing up. I mean, when you have something a country that's 9 times your size from a population perspective, okay, and that's not even including the illegal immigrants, right? Who, by the way, probably wouldn't, support Trump at this point. But
Well,
yeah,
it's probably a wash anyway. Their
what's that?
illegals and our illegals are probably around the same number.
Yeah. Well, that's very possible. Like I don't really know how many illegal people they have. All I know is that you can get a lot of work done here for pretty cheap, right? You know,
Yeah.
they don't have the.
The whole thing has been insane. I wrote a bit on the whole Gretzky thing. I defended him.
Oh yeah,
It was I'd say of the nearly 200 comments, it's pretty even. I didn't count them up as to. I could have ran a poll. I'm sure it would run very close to 50-50. I mean, it's polarizing. There's no gray area. You're either. That's just in regards to
well,
Wayne.
but that's wrong. You know what? Taking Gretzky aside, okay. First of all, I mean, I don't think Gretzky's done anything wrong aside from have a relationship with Donald Trump, of which people just want to attack somebody because they're friendly with somebody. Donald Trump, he's a great friend of mine, right? Gretzky's the greatest. He's my greatest friend. Gretzky might be going, this guy's a jack off, but I'm not going to be rude to him, right? Like we don't know what Gretzky thinks internally, and he's certainly not going to say that the president of the United States, he's not a big fan of. He may even like Trump. Maybe Trump is a great guy on the golf course. Okay, maybe he's.
I don't know, and I don't care.
Well, exactly. But no, Gretzky's done nothing wrong. And as a matter of fact, to try to force, and you know what? And I love that Bobby Orr came to Gretzky's defense. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah, I see everything.
Yeah. So Bobby Orr came and he backed him, and not because he backs Trump, not because but because you know what? He was vilified for his comments a few years back.
Oh yeah, he's been run out on the rails too on social media by countless thousands. Not as many. Wayne's the latest one. I mean, the cancel culture are a mob. They just look for the next guy to attack, and everybody is butthurt and offended by every little thing today. A bunch of crybabies, just unfreaking believable what we've produced in this country in the last 30, 40 years.
Well, I don't think it's just our country because there's a bunch of crybabies.
I do. I think we're one of the worst, and I don't do much traveling, but I am online. And I see a lot what goes on around the rest of the world, and I have not seen anything like what's gone on in our country in the last couple decades. It's the transition. That said, I know I don't have 40 minutes to talk politics. That's for sure.
Right? No. That's okay.
It is what it is. And in terms of Trump galvanizing the country, I think you're right. To some extent, he has. And it's remains to be seen how all that plays out. It's pretty crazy stuff that's gone on, but there's no doubt about it. It added some tremendous fervor to the Four Nations, especially after the round robin game with the 3 fights in 9 seconds, and then they beat us and they had a lead. We score first in the final. They come back, they take a lead again, and they are so structured for us to come back, Bennett to tie it, and then McJesus in OT, and who better? It just absolutely was amazing to watch.
So speaking of which, by the way, so I've heard everybody going on, oh, that was Austin Matthews' fault, right? I'm going on. As I watch that play, Matthews had no other choice than cover Marner because the defenseman was out of position. The defenseman had to take the long way around the net to get there, and didn't. So my thought was, because there was nobody to pressure Marner, he had no choice. Because Marner would have stepped out himself.
The entire defensive alignment for the United States broke down on that play. And where they got screwed up was the wingers crisscrossed for Canada. And the D should have stayed with their respective wingers, which that's what they should have done. And they didn't. Matthews should have stayed with McDavid. So when the puck came back to Makar, he sees Marner wide open for the rim around. He drills it, but Marner gets it. There's no one around him. So then they realize, oh my God, we got to check Marner, and Matthews goes as well.
Yeah.
And that's where he left McDavid, and then he could have parked the Voyageur bus beside Connor, and the rest is history. But there was a breakdown all across the board from the face-off right through the goal, and it's just one of those things. It happens quite often.
And you know what? And so I guess what I was doing is I was kind of defending Matthews there because people ripped him, you know what I mean, and glorified in ripping him. And you know what? I hate the Toronto team as a general, like a whole thing. I don't hate the individual players. I have tremendous amount of respect for the individual players. Now that being said,
he screwed up too, though, Chris. At the end of the day, he has to bear some responsibility, but you can't blame the whole goal on him. Like I just said, if you go back, if anybody goes back, puts the play on in slow motion, you'll see that the wingers switch, and the American D don't cover them. That's why Marner's open. So the play starts. The play, Marner can't make that pass if he's covered.
That's right.
The breakdown starts there from the draw right through to the goal. And it's just something that happens in hockey all the time. But this is in overtime of the final of one of the most contentious games probably since game 8 in 72. And you end up with McDavid alone in front, and the rest is history. So there was breakdowns everywhere, but Matthews has to take his share of the blame for sure.
Yeah. For sure. All right. Any other things we got to talk about?
Oh, well, Hosey and Brown.
So we had the hockey pool, Hosey and Brown, offside with Hawes and Maguire hockey pool. It's turning into a bit of a 1-2-3 now. It's getting close. It's within 100 points of each other, which can happen. And I actually sent out an email to the top 5, in the pool to say, okay, we're heading down. Like the rest of the people are gone. They're out. You know what I mean? Unless some sort of miracle happens.
Which includes me.
And me too. But the rest of, so those 5 are there. And I said, so get ready to go to PEI for, you know what I mean? I want you to make sure you pick your travel partner well and all of that stuff. So we're, and because there's only is it 5.5 weeks left of the season?
Yeah, that's it, man. And I'm actually right after we finish taping the show here, I'm heading to see Mr. Rod Brown, who is our key sponsor. Obviously, it's to pick up his latest contribution and get that over to you. And he's very excited he's following this, and he thinks it's great that the race is tightening up in the hockey pool. So I'm really glad you mentioned it. I also talked to Big Jeff there from Shoeless Joe's.
Oh,
and he 100% is on board. So that was just an electronic snafu there over Christmas time. So I want to give a shout out to Shoeless Joe's as well, because they're still with us as an official capacity as a sponsor. And I said, well, we're taping past the date. I know that was the most exciting for you, Jeff. And he said, oh yeah, March 5th, 2004, Ottawa, Philadelphia, 419 penalty minutes. And I said, look, I'll give it a shout out on the broadcast there for you. So there you go. The all-time NHL penalty minute, even though we're taping a few days after March 5th, but that's for Shoeless Joe's, both locations, Kentville and Orleans, the anniversary of the greatest fighting game ever in NHL history. And it should, by the way, Chris, should be mentioned, that very last fight, the one that set the record, was Patrick Sharp for the Flyers, who went on a pretty decent career in Chicago, right? He won a Stanley Cup.
Right. Yeah, he won a cup.
And he fought Jason Spezza. That was the very last fight that set the record. And the reason that Spezza got the extra 10, he didn't have the tie down done. So they gave him an extra 10, and that's how they set the record, because the previous record was Boston and Minnesota from 1981. So there you go.
10 minutes. So that extra 10 minutes.
Brought to you by Shoeless Joe's.
Excellent. So I just to address that. So the extra 10 minutes was because he wasn't dressed appropriately.
That's right.
He should have gone to the White House, apparently.
Wow. See, that's why you were a comedian. That just came to you like that, right?
Oh, yeah,
You
it's just
went from Spencer to Zelensky just like that.
yeah. Well, they're very similar. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, like here's the thing: Zelensky, more of a winger, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
and a defensive winger too, because he's small. He's like 4'2". He's
Hey,
like a midget.
on the defense right now.
He's like a midget without a giant head. It's unbelievable. Um, uh, but you know what? Whatever. He's standing strong. And I'll say this one last comment before we leave, because we do have to leave. Is that as a representative for Offside with Hawes Maguire and being the Hawes part of that, okay,
Yeah.
I would like to say that I am a proud Canadian. I am respectful and do absolutely love and appreciate the people of the United States, because it's not the individual people that this is all about. This is all about a bunch of people who aren't real. Like they're not real people. Like everybody I meet down here is going, hey, listen, you know what? Americans are apologizing to me all the time. It's like, hey, you apologize one more time and you're going to become Canadian, right?
That's right.
Like, so the American people, as a generalization, are on our side. I just want people to know that. Don't hate Americans. You can, direct everything at the Trump administration, but the people of the United States are right there with us. So I just want everybody to understand that.
Hey, listen, man. For whatever it's worth, I got no beef with the American people either. And I think none of us do. We all know where this is originating or how it's all originated and how it continues to be a story. Is anytime Trump's asked about Canada, out comes the next barrage of idiocy. So,
Oh,
it is what it is, and it's certainly added.
did you hear his latest? We're gonna cut down our own trees. We're gonna make lots of money, and we're not gonna need Canadian trees. Like, you know,
And no, there's no. It's
he's going to cut a 50,
incomprehensible.
50 yards. He's going to cut a swath of 50 yards as a fire barriers. We're going to use all that money from those trees. Okay. Forget how much it costs to do that and all that. We're going to make lots of money. We're going to make cars out of wood, and we're going to our energy. We're going to burn the wood. We're going to create energy. We're going to do, we're going to be the greatest thing, like honest to God, everything's the greatest. So they're going to be all.
It's sad, man. We're a couple months into 4 years. Like it's, I'm not sure at some point here this thing will find its some sort of conclusion with the tariff stuff and everything else. But what's next? It's just really hard to fathom how countless millions. But I don't think they had much choice. I don't follow American politics like you do, so I don't know. But it is baffling. Anytime he speaks, it really is unfreaking believable. But what the hell are you gonna do, man? It's trying to survive my own little piece of the world here, and you're
Well,
trying to take
exactly.
care of your family. You're doing
Yeah,
the same. You're
exactly.
doing the same. That's why you're down there.
That's right.
And
I'm here because of family, for sure.
yeah, no, exactly. So,
Because otherwise,
and
Lord knows how much I want to be, basking in the sun on Ramsey Lake in Sudbury at this time of year.
well, I just got back from a week in Jamaica, so I know all about sun in the winter. So
Yeah.
it's fun to get away, and you've had an opportunity, and it's good, and you're there for family, and it's good, and that's all we got to do, man. Take care
All
of each
right.
other. Families.
Well, we are now officially running out of time. So this
All
has
right,
been Offside with Hawes Maguire. I'm Hawes.
I'm McGuire. G'day.